In a driver's side T-bone collision, the person behind the wheel takes the brunt of the force. This is really critical information for everybody who's listening because the average American over their driving experience in life will have between 3 and 4 accidents. And during that time, there's injuries that occur. So if you're driving, if you start like I did when you were 16, 15 or whatever and drive throughout adulthood, there is a 99% chance that you're going to be in a wreck in your lifetime. So in the direct impact punch collision T-bone, the driver's behind the wheel is going to have a lot of common fractures. The ribs are going to be at risk because of the direct punch coming through. Remember, when these doors are built, there's not really that much of a crumple zone there. And so the impact, the force of that collision is going to punch through the door. Every one of the processes and things that make our life comfortable, like an armrest or maybe a door handle or anything like that, that's there for our convenience, can become an internal weapon inside that car when it's punched in and there's an intrusion into the passenger compartment. So what are the common fractures that we can see here? Well, clearly you got your arms, you got your legs from the direct punch, because remember, you're sitting right here in this seat right here behind that wheel. And so all of this force is going to be coming through straight into you. So you've got not only your arms and your legs, but you've also got your ribs, because your ribs could be compromised, and even your pelvis. Not to mention anything that catches up here, like your shoulder strap or your seat belt, that's going to cause an impact and damages and injuries to your rotator cuff. A very, very common injury, and one that the insurance adjusters love to scoff at, and they will tell you it is due to anything: the moon, the tides, the fact that it's a Tuesday. They will tell you anything except that their insured caused you that harm. And not only do you have possible damages to the bone structures, but let's look at what lies behind the bones. Remember, the way that God designed our body is the bones are supposed to protect the internal structures of the body. So we're talking about the spleen, we're talking about the liver, we're talking about your lungs, we're talking about all of the internal organs that can be impacted when this direct punch T-bone impact intrudes into the passenger compartment. And so all of these things can be compromised, and you could have torn internal organs. And not only that, they don't have to be torn, they can be severely bruised. This can lead to internal bleeding, which is very, very dangerous, because believe me, we have seen it happen. People can suffer immense blood loss through internal bleeding, never know it until they fall down and have to be rushed to the hospital. So these are very, very serious injuries. So in this type of collision, we have to look for that. If you've heard me speak before, you know I talk in terms about ligament laxity and the things that the head can hit. And this is a very good example of what's going on here. So not only with this direct punch coming in, we know that, for instance, that your spine is going to be moving back and forth like that. And again, that's going to be causing that ligament laxity, which is a lifetime injury. But what's going to happen is that your head can impact things. Like, this is the B pillar running right down here, okay? You could hit the door glass. You could fling back and forth and come into contact with the steering wheel right here. So what we're talking about is we're talking about impacts on this side, and we're talking impacts down through here. Now remember, your brain sits in a cup, and that cup and the brain comes down to just below the nose. So right about right here. And so all of this right down through here and up through here are very, very important parts of our brain, and they can be impacted. This can cause all kinds of problems: brain bleeds, long-term psychological and physiological damage. The most important one that people don't know about is what is called a brain shear. And what a brain shear is again, if you look at the human brain, it sits in this cup, just like this. So when it's sitting like this and it's shaking back and forth like this, the bottom that's inside the cup will sit still, but the top will move back and forth, or like this, front and back. And when that happens, it tears all the little microcapillaries in the brain and causes a bleed in the brain. Now, this is very serious because the brain cannot heal like the rest of the body does. There's no place for it to swell. And that's why brain swelling can sometimes be fatal and lead to fatal consequences. When the brain does reabsorb the blood that has come out, it leaves a hole in your brain just like Swiss cheese. Yes, you heard me right, a hole in your brain just like Swiss cheese. So for all of these reasons and all of these injuries, medical imaging is critical, and documenting your symptoms early is critical. If you do not know where to look for the hidden injuries, you don't know what the symptoms are, and you may not relate what's going on in your body to the impact of the collision that you were just in. That's why at John Michael Bailey Injury Lawyers, we take a detailed medical history. We are trauma trained. We know how to prove the impact, and so we know where to look for the injury. That's why we will get all the property damage information. We will analyze it, and once we analyze how the wreck occurred, we will then go over with you the likely areas where you have suffered injury, and particularly the injuries that we call the hidden injuries, the ones that take a while to manifest themselves. And we will make sure that you get the correct and proper treatment for every injury that you have suffered in this collision. 888, we fight.